The letter to the Galatians, written by the Apostle Paul, addresses the relationship between the Torah, God's laws he commanded us to keep, and Jesus Christ in early Christian adoption of the laws and how they are understood. However, to understand the significance of Paul's letter and its context, it is essential to explore the history of the Galatian region and its pagan practices before Christianity arrived. Location: Galatia was located in what is now central Turkey. In ancient times, it was a region populated by a mixture of Celtic tribes, the Galatians, descended from Gauls who settled the area in the 3rd century BCE, and Greek-speaking inhabitants. This blend of cultures gave rise to a rich tapestry of religious and social practices. Hellenistic influence: by the time Paul wrote his letter in the 1st century CE, the region had already experienced strong Hellenistic influences due to the conquests of Alexander the Great. Greek language, culture, and religious practices had penetrated Galatia, and its cities were centers of Greco-Roman paganism. Roman rule: in 25 BCE, Galatia became a Roman province under the reign of Augustus. Roman religious and cultural influences further shaped the region. The Galatians practiced a variety of pagan religions rooted in both their Celtic and Greco-Roman heritage. Some of these practices are important to understand the context in which Paul wrote, especially when discussing idolatry and the contrast with Christian monotheism. Celtic religious traditions: the original Galatian tribes brought with them Celtic deities and rituals. These included reverence for nature, the worship of gods associated with fertility, war, and the natural world, and practices like sacrifice to ensure blessings from the gods. Greco-Roman pantheon: by the 1st century CE, the Galatians, like other people in the Roman Empire, worshipped the classical Greco-Roman gods such as Zeus, Hera, Athena, and Apollo. Cities in Galatia had temples dedicated to these gods, and their festivals and rituals were intertwined with the political and social life of the time. Zeus, chief among the gods, worshipped in Galatia through major temples. One of the most famous sanctuaries of Zeus was in Ancyra, modern Ankara, the capital of Galatia. Emperor worship: in the Roman Empire, it was common to treat the emperor as a god. The imperial cult was widespread in Galatia, where emperors like Augustus were worshipped alongside traditional deities. This practice reinforced loyalty to Rome but also created tension with early Christians who refused to engage in such practices. Mystery cults and local practices: in addition to traditional Greco-Roman religion, Galatia also had thriving mystery religions such as the worship of the mother goddess Cybele. Cybele, known as Magna Mater, Great Mother, was one of the most prominent deities in the region. Her cult involved elaborate rituals, ecstatic dances, and occasional self-mutilation among some of her most devout followers. This form of worship was widespread in the region and distinct from the more formalized state religions of Rome. Syncretism: like much of the Roman world, religious practices in Galatia were often syncretic, meaning they combined elements from different traditions. People might worship a local Celtic god, the Roman god Jupiter, the Roman version of Zeus, and the emperor all in the same temple. This religious flexibility stood in stark contrast to the strict monotheism that Paul preached. Against this backdrop of pagan religion, Paul's letter to the Galatians focused on the Torah, God's law, and its relationship to the message of Jesus. Circumcision and the law: one of the central controversies in Galatians is whether Gentile, non-Jewish, converts to Christianity had to follow God's laws, such as circumcision. The answer was yes. Paul argued fiercely that faith in Jesus Christ and his sacrificial death does not supersede the need to follow the Torah, particularly for Gentiles. He insisted that salvation came through faith in Christ, as well as adherence to God's law and his commandments, including the Sabbaths and holy feast days. Paganism and the law: Paul saw the Galatians as having been freed from their former pagan ways through faith in Jesus and the commandments. However, He was alarmed that some were being persuaded to adopt Jewish legal customs written in a form like the Talmud, such as man-made traditions slatted at written in the Torah, which he saw as a regression. Paul viewed this as a return to slavery, whether it was slavery to pagan idols or to the strictures of the man-made oral Torah laws. The role of the law, Paul explains that the Torah was like a guardian that had served its purpose in guiding people to Christ. Now that Christ had come, the function of the sacrificial law was fulfilled, or the death penalty for breaking the commandments and holding fast to paganism, and believers were justified by faith alone but were still obligated to keep Torah. He emphasized this in Galatians 3 verses 24 to 25. So the law was our guardian until Christ came that we might be justified by faith. Now that this faith has come, we are no longer under a guardian. The Torah serves as a divinely given guide for how people should live, not as a burden, but as a source of life and wisdom. The Hebrew Bible frequently refers to the Torah as a path or way to be followed. In this sense, it is a guardian in the way that a loving parent or teacher provides rules and instructions to protect and help a child grow. Psalm 119 verse 105 expresses this beautifully. Your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path. The Torah, as the source of divine law, shows the way to live in righteousness, teaching the people how to relate to God, to one another, and to the world. By setting clear boundaries, it guards the people from destructive behaviors and leads them toward a harmonious life in accordance with God's will. Paul's use of the Greek term pedagogos, often translated as guardian or tutor, refers to a pedagogue, a servant in ancient Greek and Roman households responsible for supervising and educating children until they reached maturity. Torah represents the terms of the covenant between God and the people. In this light, it serves as a guardian of that relationship, maintaining its integrity and ensuring that the people of Israel live in harmony with their divine calling. Rather than being a mere set of legalistic rules, the Torah is a gift of divine instruction that fosters a close and personal relationship with God. Deuteronomy 6 verse 24 states, "And the Lord commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive." The Torah is seen as a source of life and blessing. Its commandments are designed to help people flourish, both spiritually and physically. It guards the well-being of the community and the individual by outlining a way of life that brings people closer to God and to one another. Torah's commandments, mitzvot, are seen as a means to holiness, not only for Jews but also in guiding humanity toward ethical monotheism. As a guardian, the Torah brings order and structure to human life, directing people toward righteous living and preventing them from falling into immoral or chaotic behavior. Leviticus 19 verse 2 commands, "You shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy." The Torah provides the framework to achieve this holiness through actions that reflect God's own nature. The Torah helps guard the sanctity of life, relationships, and community through its ethical teachings. The 613 mitzvot, commandments, serve as a comprehensive guide to every aspect of life, from interpersonal relationships to dietary laws, fostering both physical and spiritual purity. God, designed to guard the people on their journey towards spiritual maturity, ethical living, and holiness. And a relationship with God. Paul's letter to the Galatians is not just a theological document but also a reflection of the broader religious and cultural dynamics of the first-century Roman world. In Galatia, a region steeped in pagan practices, Paul challenged both the paganism of the Gentile converts and the insistence of some Jewish Christians that Gentiles must adopt the fullness of God's law to follow Yeshua or Jesus. His message emphasized the freedom brought by faith in Jesus and the new, unifying identity of Christians that transcended both paganism and the love for adherence to the Torah.